I misheard that lyric as the corn cake. And so I became attached to the idea of naming a boat Corn Cake. I thought that's the greatest name for a boat. You know?
Right.
The summer sky, the setting sun, the corn cake steams on the Bristol Run. And I thought, wow, one day I'm going to name a boat Corn Cake. And then I looked it up and found that the lyric says corn crake, which is a bird.
Oh, is it? Yeah, isn't that always the worst?
Yeah. But the die
But
was
you
cast.
kept to it.
Yeah, the die was cast, and it's corn cake, which is nice. It's food. It's something you can eat.
Sure. I'm thinking corn cake, like a Johnny cake, kind of.
Yeah, like a Johnny cake.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody actually says corn cake. Like, let's go have a corn cake. I don't know. You know, surely somebody. QT rowing skiff that I scaled down to 75% for kids. For my kids, and just kind of learning about that. You know, what size is best for a kid. I've done a lot of scaling up and down of boats. In fact, just about everything I've ever built has been scaled for one reason or another. I have Bolger style sockets here, and I put a kayak type chamber on the back, hoping to put a little skirt on it. Little thing to go around there for the kids to put little picnic items and things in.
Do your kids get out on the boat very often?
Yeah, the kids come up here during the summer, sometimes every day, several times a week at least. We're up here swimming and playing on the little boats. For this one, you know, I built the side flotation chambers so that they could row it wherever they wanted to and not
worry about turtling.
If they could flip it this way and that way and always climb back in, no problem. Yeah, the oars are just built up out of some thin pine board and then ash on the outside.
And I saw in your blog that your kids were pretty involved in the building process.
Yeah, of corn cake and well, this is just kind of a little joke project, but yeah, the kids are involved in pretty much everything. They get in the way sometimes more than they help, but I think that if you want them to keep involved, you need to tolerate the kids being in the way and involve them, let them make mistakes, let them slow you down, because that way they feel valued in the shop. And hopefully in their adolescence they won't totally reject everything you're about. Well, they may still, but that's life.
Yeah.
They come around.
You have no control over that?
No, I don't.
No.
So what materials is corn cake made out of?
1/2-inch BC exterior pine plywood for pretty much everything except the bottom. The bottom is 2 layers of 3/4 for 1.5 inch bottom. And then
And do you epoxy those two together, or are they just fastened together?
let's see. They're laminated together with liquid polyurethane for large surface area bonds that have some opportunity to not have perfect contact. I like that foaming liquid polyurethane. I imagine that its gap filling properties is a good thing for that. So I did the. It's got a dead flat run in the bottom, in the middle rather. So it's got about 12 feet where the cross section is square and it's flat lengthwise. Thanks for the chainsaw, Dad.
Is that your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's probably just gonna cut a log up and quit. He won't be running that forever.
Well, it's ambiance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So should I wait or should I keep going through the?
I mean,
No, he's gonna move the logs around.
okay.
Yeah.
So corn cake is made from exterior pine, BC.
Exterior BC pine plywood.
So that's not marine grade.
That's not marine grade. And marine grade, as you probably know, is a statement more about the quality of the laminations, the quality of the plies, than it is about glue or even less rot resistance. It's the same glue as exterior plywood. It's the same rot resistance as any other wood. It's just got really, really good plies all the way through. That's why it's so expensive, and that's why I can't buy it. And so I don't foresee ever building a boat out of marine plywood. The boat that this camera is sitting on right now is much heavier than it would have to be because it's made of 1/4 inch BC pine plywood, but I can't afford to buy marine plywood.
Sure.
It's just a deal breaker for me.
All right, so we're working with exterior pine BC plywood. What do you use for fastening?
I've used stainless. Dave Zeiger uses only silicone bronze. Now he's in salt water all the time. I don't know if I've done the right thing. Let me go back. I use some stainless fasteners, and I've also used some regular like deck screws, polymer coated, that claim to be corrosion resistant, and I cover them over, but I do believe in the long run that would be susceptible to nail sickness, and this boat is not going to last for 40, 50 years. I don't entertain that. It's gonna last me through till the kids are big, and I don't anticipate having it any longer than that. It took me 6 months of almost full-time work to make, and that is a sacrifice, but I'll do it again later.
An excuse to build another boat.
Excuse to build another
There
boat.
you go.
Yeah, this is just one step in a long learning process for me. So I used cheap plywood and cheaper type fasteners. I haven't repented of that yet, but we'll see after I spend some more time in salt water.
Sure.
Anyway, I was saying before that there's a dead flat run in the middle of the boat,
Yep.
about 12 feet long, and that I built that flat on the floor, both laminations, and then I put that up on blocks and started. I set the sides were already built, laying on the sides of the shop. I brought the sides in, set them up on the bottom, fastened all that with PL Premium and long 2.5 inch stainless screws. Put the bulkhead in the center that sits on the dead flat. Then I put the bulkheads that go kind of across the curved section at the end, and then I started curving that plywood up around. So I put the first layer, screwed it in, laminated the second layer onto it, curving up from the bottom, so the whole boat was built right side up. I considered an upside down build, but the logistics of flipping it.
Right. Yeah, because you're building it in your boat shed, so that would have been tough. You would have to probably have pulled it out of the shed to flip it.
Yes, and even then, outside, to have to take a boat of any size and flip it, it's potentially destructive.
Right.
And it's nerve-wracking, and I didn't want to go through it.
Right. And I guess if you had done so, would you have had to build some sort of strong back or something to hold the structure aloft while you worked on it?
Well, there's different ways of doing it. I probably would have winched it over to be on its side, or and then probably that first process would be the difficult one, because it's sitting on its roof that isn't there yet.
Right.
It's just sitting on
Exactly.
a couple of bulkheads. So any kind of funny stresses while you're rolling it over right there could really hurt your boat.
Yeah. Which, after putting all that time into it,
Yeah.
doesn't sound particularly attractive.
I'd rather build everything right side up.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I possibly can. What else about corn cake?
So looking at it, it looks like you have plexi. Is that plexiglass, or is
That's
that
plexiglass. That was another place where I would have liked to have sprung for the Lexan. You know,
Yeah.
I would love to build a boat with marine ply and Lexan on the windows, but I just couldn't.
Right.
I couldn't afford it. So that was the most expensive part of the boat, really, were those all around plexiglass windows, smoked 1/4 inch. I got them from E-Plastics out of California. I met a guy down at the truck stop that for delivery. I just had him meet me at the truck stop, and I came with my truck, and we slid it off out of his big semi truck into mine pickup, and that was that. And it's not as strong as Lexan. If this were a boat to go on the open sea, which it very much isn't, but if it were, I would rather have the Lexan for that impact resistance.
So where else have you launched corn cake?
I haven't taken corn cake anywhere but Claytor Lake and Lake Hartwell.
Okay.
I built corn cake about 2 years ago, and for 1 year of that, I was out of the country. So I haven't. Corn cake's golden age has not arrived yet. We're going to. I experimented with a junk sail. Dave Zeiger is very much a proponent of junk rig, and I agree with him on many things, or in many ways about that. But the truth is, on a trailerable sailboat, it's very complex to have a junk rig on a boat like this. So I'm just going to go with a good old balanced lug. And hopefully this summer I'll build that, and later this summer, this fall, we'll take some more adventures and actually finally sail her.
Cool. Very cool. I would like to talk about the project you just completed at Springhouse.
Yeah, it's at Springhouse. I was just basically looking for a job after I came back from being out of the country, and a friend of mine turned me on to Springhouse, and I went asking about a teaching job of some kind, and that didn't seem to be forthcoming. And so I said, well, you know, I've also done a hands-on learning project before with some kids at the high school over here in Carroll County, where we built 4 PD racers, those puddle duck racers, in 2 days, and then sailed them on the 3rd day. And would you be interested in a thing like that? And the director said, well, now that you mention it, yeah, except couldn't we go bigger? And I said, absolutely. What kind of thing would you like to do? And I ended up scaling a Bolger Pirate Racer, 14-foot boat, up 1.5 to a 22-foot skiff, 3-masted, building it with the kids at Springhouse School in Floyd, which is a very small private school. And 2 days a week, we took a barn and we added kind of a plastic room in there that we could heat, and made a boat shop. And after the kids got done making the boat shop, we turned around and started making the boat.
Had the kids had any woodworking experience or boat building experience? Or were they all completely new to the process?
Absolutely not. Most of them couldn't drive a nail. And they had great enthusiasm, great energy. We've got video of them tacking up plastic to make the boat shop, singing sea shanties, and just it was just beautiful to see these mountain kids get interested in nautical culture and learning all these new concepts and skills, and they took to it, and after 6 months of hard work, we had our boat and we took it to the Chesapeake.
And so I saw that in the midst of this project you had a bit of a funding gap and you had to launch a Kickstarter campaign?
That's right, we did a Kickstarter campaign, made our goal, and that brought us through.
Cool. So what did the students find most challenging about building the boat?
The thing that the students found most challenging about building the boat would definitely be the kind of gap in morale that happens in the last last half of a project, because the initial rush of energy that you get when you're building a boat propels you through that early stage where you're planning and dreaming. Then you have the part where all of the things that you do create a lot of visible progress. It's very much like building a house. You lay your foundation and there's a foundation. You stand up walls and there's walls. You put on a roof and there's a roof. Then comes a slower process of finishing all that out. And it's the same way with the boat. You know, the boat takes a three-dimensional form and you can't believe it. You know, you've been working in 2 dimensions and now you got 3 dimensions, and now you got a bottom on the boat. You put whales on and it looks so much like a boat, and that's great. And then the progress starts to become less visible, starts to become less kinetic. It becomes taking care of details and figuring things out and working things out. And at that point, it's easy to lose morale, especially if you're 14.
Yeah.
So I had to go from kind of purveyor of dreams to a bit of a whipcracker halfway through the project. But at the end of it, we all still loved each other, and it was really a great experience overall. But there was a gray time in there in the middle when you say, yeah, kids, this isn't fun anymore. I understand that, but as much as we would like to take half an hour after lunch and play basketball out in front of the barn, we can't do that. We have a deadline. We have to get this boat done by, and you're going to have to come in here and you're going to have to clean glue off of the sides of these frames, or you're going to have to sand. Yeah, we're going to be sanding for the rest of the day, guys. That's just how it is. If we want to do this, then we've got to do the unfun stuff.
How many students were you working with?
15 in total. It started out 17 kids, and the school population tends to fluctuate like any school does. And we started out with 17, went down to 15. I think now they're going to be up to 18 and 19 this year. So I had 15
So did
kids.
you have all the students in the school?
I did not. I mean, I had them all in class.
Uh-huh.
But then on Tuesdays and Thursdays is when the internship occurred. And so that was the boat project was billed as an internship because the kids do internships at Springhouse anyway. They're going out into the community. They work in a grocery store. They work in a feed store. They might work in a place that designs lighting. They might work at any number of places that they might be interested possibly in going into in the future, while they get to experiment with that in little internships, little apprenticeships. So we just used the boat building as one of those, so the kids that wanted to could sign up, which was nice because all the kids there had signed up for it. It wasn't anything that they had been mandated to do.
So once y'all completed the project, I saw that you went to the Chesapeake Bay for the initial launch.
Yes, we did. We went to a place outside of Kilmarnock, Virginia, on the, let's see, the name of the river is escaping me now, but it was somewhere in the northern neck area, north of the Rappahannock River. We got associated with the Northern Neck Power Squadron, which was they really were interested in our project, and they really came through for us in terms of helping us. They provided us a support boat, and they welcomed us when we came in. We had rented a house with a big lawn, and they right on the water for launching the boat, and they came and they set up tents and they had a oyster shucking, and had the kids shucking oysters and grilling them and steaming them, and they made a cake with the picture of the boat on it, and it was just a really great experience to have all those age groups mixing and have that great welcome from that group of boaters out there. And they spent a week learning to sail. They had never sailed before. We took a trial run on the local lake here, and that was good. But we also built a couple of PD racers, so that there was
With the same group of kids?
the same group of kids. Just the last few days, we built a couple of PD racers. They go together really quick. Are you familiar with PD racers?
I'm not. No.
PD racer is what you see right here.
Okay.
And we built a couple of those, and I brought mine, and so we actually had 4 boats total, the big boat and 3 little ones, and we were just sailing in and out, back and forth, out into the bay and back all day long.
And so did the kids take to the sailing?
Oh, absolutely. Well, some of them did. Most of them did. It's not all of them. It's not their thing. And any of these things that this school does, that these school experiments with, it's not going to be every kid's thing.
Right.
But a lot of them really took to it, and they've been begging me to go out again. My truck's in the shop, so I can't really take them, but their appetite was whetted.
What did y'all end up naming the boat?
We named it Wanderer.
Wanderer. So where's Wanderer now?
Wanderer is in the same barn on a cradle we made for her. We used my trailer, so that became a little bit complicated. As long as Wanderer is sitting on my trailer, I can't move corn cake. So that's another project we need to get into with the school, is adapting a trailer to move Wanderer.
Whose land is Wanderer on?
The director of the school had a barn.
Okay.
So that's a secure, easy, free place
Very cool.
that we could use.
Are you going to continue next year doing another boat building project with the students, or?
They're going to go a different direction this year. The school does something different every year.
Okay.
I would really love to get into other schools and doing similar projects in the future.
So what's next for you?
What's next for me is I have a job that's just kind of an interim thing, and after that maybe I'll start another one of these.
Cool. Are you interested in staying in education, or what?
That really would be best if I could do more of the same thing that we just did, because it's so exciting to take kids and get them into sailing. Normally, when you're a sailor, people have fairly negative associations with sailing. You say, "Oh, I like sailing," and either what they either think about slow, they think elitist, which in my case couldn't be further from the truth. Maybe they think silly people who like to play pirates. Maybe they think of something as kind of ancient or passé, or very few people, when you say sailing, will think something beautiful, which is what you have in your mind. When you say sailing, you're imagining the feeling that you get when the wind tightens that sail up and its invisible hand starts moving you forward, and you hear the burbling of the water under the forefoot, and all the world just sort of becomes this flow. That's what we have in our hearts when we hear the word sailing. And spreading that is so gratifying. It beats any kind of boat building for its own sake. Having a group of kids who you are indoctrinating, you might say, or who you are inculcating with the love of sailing, of nautical culture, it's the most gratifying thing you can do.
Do you think any of your students will go on to do any more with boating or sailing or boat building?
I'm sure of it, that some of them will go on to build their own boats, to buy boats, to use them, to boating will be a part of their life, hopefully, because of what I've done. What I've done. No, boating will be a part of their life because of what we've all done. And it makes me feel so happy to think that maybe in 50 years, maybe in 80 years, someone will be telling the story of something that happened to them when they were young. That the things that we do today have these ripple effects that go out through history. I mean, think of all the stories that any of our older people have told us about things that happened to them when they were kids, or things that happened even to their parents. And it's these relatively small acts that have these great emotional effects that go down through history. And I'd like to think that this is the kind of thing that we've done at Springhouse, is that we've created lasting effects for people in their lives.
Wonderful.